like to talk about music, news, and entertainment. But most importantly, we like to talk about life. So get yourself
Yo, what's going on? This is your boy Bear, and this is the Bear Trap Podcast. What is going down? You have now stepped into the trap. What's popping? Episode 2. We back like we never left. You feel me? And we're going to get into it, man. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you to all the people that has been sending me love, man. So much love, so much support. Man, I appreciate that. I appreciate it, man. I really, really do, man. I do this podcast for us, and I thank you. Man, I was kind of floored. So many people sent me messages telling me, man, keep going, keep doing it. They love the podcast. They appreciate it. Man, I thank you guys, man, and I appreciate it. I really, really do, man. Man, shout out to all y'all, man. Y'all make this worth doing. It ain't no fun, man, if everybody ain't involved. You know what I'm saying? So continue to send me those messages and continue to let me know, man, what y'all want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't got all the ideas and I ain't got all the answers, but we're gonna get to it though. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh yeah, here in town, Wildin' Out. Wildin' Out is coming to town. They're actually here. I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, but they'll be here over the weekend. So shout out to Jason Lee. You know, shout out to Nick Cannon for bringing such an iconic show here to Stockton. You know, here to my hometown. And shout out to all the people that got to get involved and actually be on the show. That's from Stockton. Some of the models, some of the different people, some of the behind the scenes stuff. Man, shout out to y'all, man, for pushing y'all agenda and doing y'all thing. You know, getting in where you can fit in at. You know what I'm saying? Today's topic is kind of an analogy. We're gonna get into it. It's fairy tale town. Like I was speaking, I was meditating. I was meditating in one of my meditative moments. I was thinking, like, man, how often do I find myself daydreaming? Do I find myself way off into the, you know, because I'm a very, very creative person. I'm a very, very imaginative person. And that is a strength. That is a strong point, of mine and of anybody that's creative. They're gonna think up some stuff. But it comes to a point to where sometimes you got to come out of fairy tale land and get down into the reality of what's going on right in front of you so that those thoughts and those dreams and all of those high-minded imaginations can be made real. you know I think it's very important to have a balance and have a good grasp on both. you know if you ain't creative, you don't make no money. And if you too realistic, you can't get creative. So it's a catch 22. And sometimes we battle with this and we don't even know what the battle is, and we battling with it. Like, some people tell, get your head out of the clouds. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people say that. And then sometimes people say, man, you too focused on the problems and you ain't worried about what could be. You know what I'm saying? You're not giving yourself, you're not opening up the doors for what could be. You know what I'm saying? And nobody said that we couldn't have it, and nobody said that we could. But at the same time, we definitely want to leave room for God to come in, man. Leave room for God to bless us, as far as, what I'm saying, what could positively happen, in our lives. So everything positive, I want it. The door is open. You want to make me a millionaire? I'm for it. you want me to you want me to drive a better car? I'm for it. I ain't gonna stop God from doing, the universe, God, from doing whatever he want to do in my life. You know what I'm saying? Because everything he can do is better than I could do for myself. So that's just my point of view. But back into the subject, little rant there. Back into the subject is fairy tale town, man. A lot of times, we got to stop. And me, myself personally, this is just something I've been dealing with. All these topics and stuff is stuff that I just meditate on and be dealing with. It's like sometimes what we're doing right now with our hands and with our time and with our mind and our focus, it's not directly, it doesn't, it doesn't equate for me to make it where I'm trying to go, like based on like what I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? How much effort am I putting toward actually being down the road where I actually to my destination? Like I'm not putting in any work toward getting to my destination, right? Even if it's the smallest things. Like sometimes if you got to look for what you're doing to get that what you're doing that's heading to the direction that you're going, that means you're not doing enough. If you got to search and see, man, what did I do today towards my goal? You looking too hard. It's supposed to be a mountain of things that you did in the day toward getting towards your goal. Like, you know what I'm saying? And even if it's not a mountain, it should be some type of progress, even if it's just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. Even the smallest things can be very, very hard to accomplish for us from time to time. But it's always beautiful if you stick it through and you get that thing done, even if it's the smallest thing. You may have to send off a letter. You may have to download something and send it back. You may have to, sometimes it's the tedious little smallest thing, that's stopping, your progress. It's not about how much you get done. It's about if you get anything done, if you understand what I'm saying. And so, you know, it's important, to just to pay attention, to the small things. Get your small victories, man. Rack up them small victories, because you can't get miles and miles down the road if you don't start with steps. The steps, them steps start to add up and they turn into miles. You know what I'm saying? But just be patient with yourself, man, and be honest. Be honest. Come on. Because people don't care. The only person you lying to is yourself. You know what I mean? I was lying to myself about a whole bunch of stuff, man. And so it got to a point to where it's like, what the homies said, like, look, bro, like they didn't say all I do is talk, but they did say something of that nature. Like, bro, you got all these ideas, bro, and you ain't executed none of them. Bro, you so brilliant, you so sharp, your mind is so sharp, you ain't executed none of them. Like, and most of the time, we're paying attention to helping somebody else, and you're not even focused in paying attention how to help yourself. Like, sometimes it's discipline, because it's just to bring it together a little more before I lose y'all, because I get in there, I get in there. I was watching something, a video, y'all probably seen it on Instagram or somewhere, where Will Smith was talking about what it takes. Like you may get to 90% real easy and real good. Now that other 10%, you might have to change who you are. You might have to change the way you talk, the way you walk, the things you eat, what time you go to bed, just to get that other 10%, so that you could be 100%. And sometimes it's not easy. You know what I mean? You got to get that, you could talk about it, but to actually do it and actually stick to it and walk it through, walk it out, it's a whole different ball game. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody will tell you it's different when you the person digging the hole. You know what I'm saying? When you the person holding the shovel, you the person sweating, you the person gripping the, what I mean, and digging that hole out when it wasn't even a hole to begin with. Like, and you digging it out, and somebody standing on the side with their arms crossed like this. Like, man, why don't you put your back into it, man? Why don't you? How long are you gonna be digging for, bro? Like, hurry up! Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, it's different when they not in the hole. You know what I'm saying? Actually being in it, getting it out the mud, and actually being outside and doing it is a totally different thing from watching somebody do it or advising somebody. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it comes at the small things and being practical, like being practical. You know what I mean? It's always a celebration when you know to yourself that you put in maximum effort, even though you may not receive the return, that instant gratification, but you could lay down at night knowing that you put in maximum effort. You know what I'm saying? Toward what you're trying to do. Because a lot of people won't see your progress, man. Because progress, you know what I'm saying? Progress and success overall, is gauged differently by every individual. Progress for me could just be waking up on time and making my bed before I leave my house. Like, like, oh, that ain't nothing, man. You didn't make no money doing that. Like, no, but I stuck to my mindset. You know, I stuck to a plan that I put in place. You know what I'm saying? And that, my friend, is what makes millions. And that's free. That's free. Sticking to the program is free. People misunderstand, like they misunderstand things a lot of times, and sometimes it's important to stop and break it down. I know I just talked about a lot of stuff real fast. If you gotta play this video again, play it again, man. You know what I'm saying? Play it again. Run it back if you got to. Like I'm basically saying, because I talk real fast and I put a lot of things together in a rapid pace. But I'm basically saying sometimes you got to stop daydreaming and pay attention to what you're actually doing with your time that equates to where you want to go, right? You say you want to win Stockton. You say you want to make it to Sacramento, but you ain't got on the bus or you ain't got in the car or you ain't walked toward the freeway, even if you didn't have a car. Like these practical things and be like, man, I can't walk. Well, you ain't called, you ain't called the Uber. Like it goes deep, you know. Do you even know how to get to Sacramento? Like it goes deep. So that's basically, what I was saying, what I was alluding to, like over the past 2 minutes. Like sometimes you got to break it down, and they say how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, one bite at a time. You know, people my son just graduated. Shout out to you, son. I love you, and I'm proud of you. He wasn't the greatest, but he stuck to it, and through it all, he had some ups and downs, some different stuff. I normally don't talk about my family in these social, places, but I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of my oldest daughter too. She graduated also. So I'm proud of them for sticking it through because they had a few obstacles. They definitely did. You know what I'm saying? And just sticking to the plan, is a big deal. It is almost the biggest deal because it doesn't even matter if you didn't stick to it. Whatever you started or whatever you talked about, if you didn't stick to it, it don't even matter. It was conversation. It was a conversational piece. It was an exciting conversation. Like I have a bunch of exciting conversations, and at some point I have to be honest with myself and say, you know what? I'm going to stop talking. I talk too much. I talk too much. I had to stop. I had to just let me do something. Let me do a whole lot of something to where that does the talking. You know what I'm saying? Let my actions do the talking. Like, if they don't believe it, they'll never believe anything. If you've seen it with your own eyes and you still don't believe it, okay. Because 95% of the things we do, we're supposed to do because we want to do it. We want to do it from the heart as something that we feel strong about. Like this podcast, I felt strong about it for years. And I just says, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just hold myself accountable and do my thing. Like, it took for me to download a bunch of programs. It took for me to, speak to some people that were more advanced in this than me. Even though I had all the equipment and I've went live and filmed stuff and did a whole bunch of stuff, I still had to humble myself and learn from some people that were a little more advanced than me. Even though I got all the equipment and I know all the programs, that's talk. Stop talking. You can't hear if your mouth is moving. Shut up. You can't learn nothing. When this is moving, this stops. When the mouth is moving, the ears cut off. One mouth, two ears. So I just really had to do that for myself. And I don't know. I'm just piggybacking off the last video. The last video was about procrastination. This particular episode is about staying out of fairy tale town. You know, go there when you need to go there, but make sure you stay rooted and grounded in the things that you need to do to be able to make those fairy tales real. You know what I'm saying? And be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Even if nobody else is, be kind to yourself. Be patient. You know what I'm saying? Take your steps. Take your bumps and bruises on the chin. Because when you get to where you're going, you've earned it. You did what you needed to do to make it to where you were going. And so, I just wanted to touch on that for a little while, man. This podcast is gonna be awesome. It's already awesome. It's gonna be awesomer. No, that ain't a word, but awesomer. You know what I'm saying? And man, I just really want y'all to stay locked in. You know what I mean? Let me know what y'all want to talk about, man. These are just a few topics, that I had wrote down and that I developed specifically for this, just to, put out there to people, that's struggling starting something, that's struggling to stick to something. Sometimes you need somebody to tell you, hey, bro, it's all good. Did you make a little bit of progress today? All right. Okay, we're going to add that to the little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And before you know it, you got a lot of bit. You got a lot of bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm hard on myself when it comes to progress. And I don't care. That's just me personally. I want to get somewhere. And a lot of times I come to find out that, I don't want to cuss, but we be BSing. We BS ourselves, out of progress because we made an excuse. I was tired. I was at work all day. That ain't got nothing to do with progress. Work makes it possible to be able to do the other things. Yes, indeed. But at the same time, you do have to hold up to the mandate. You got to hold up to the mandate or it will not happen. That's nobody's fault but your own. At the end of the day, if I don't get off work, turn on this equipment, get these cameras going, I won't have a podcast. It don't matter whose fault it is. It don't matter how many kids I got or what kind of job I got to go to. It won't happen. That's what I'm talking about. That's what this episode is about. Pulling up, taking care of business regardless of what goes on. You know what I'm saying? And doing what you said you was going to do. You know what I mean? Even if you just said it to yourself, you can't let yourself down. You know what I'm saying? Don't get into the habit of, oh man, I told myself I was finna, but it's all good. Like you heard it. You made that pact with yourself. It don't matter what somebody else heard. It don't matter if you ain't shamed by somebody ain't called you on your stuff. You got to hold yourself accountable to yourself.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The Bear Trap Podcast. Here we like to talk about music, news, and entertainment. But most importantly, we like to talk about life. So get yourself ready, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Get yourself ready, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So get yourself ready, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Get yourself ready, let's talk